So thank you so much, Kay. It's so good to see you in this position, and I'm looking forward to seeing you here and hear you speak. And thank you everyone for being here.
Thank you so much, Jan. That's so kind. So yes, so I have probably too much training in mindfulness, but I have found it to be really transformational, both personally and professionally. And I'd like to share a little bit tonight about the two points of mindfulness that I think are most important. One is awareness, because without awareness, we can't go any further. And the second is acceptance, and that's so simple and so difficult, right? And so if we talk about awareness is just being present in the present moment, just as things are. Sounds really simple, but it's so difficult, right? Because our minds are always drifting, always thinking, and it's okay. This is what our minds do. Our minds generate hundreds and hundreds of thoughts every hour. And this is what our minds are made to do. So mindfulness is not about, as in some other meditation disciplines, true mindfulness is not about stopping those thoughts. The thoughts aren't bad. It's not about clearing our mind. It's not about visualizing something someplace else. It's not about taking ourselves out of the sometimes uncomfortable present to someplace else. It's about creating space for whatever's here, whatever we're feeling. Good, happy, sad, anxious, it all, bring it all, that it's here. And can we create some space for that without jumping into judgment? I don't like it. I wish I didn't feel that way. Oh, I'm not a good enough person. I'm not tall enough or thin enough or smart enough, or all that mind hamster wheel that we get on. And so mindfulness it's so simple yet so difficult. So the first step is just trying to cultivate awareness, and it doesn't come easily. It may take years of practice. Even the most experienced meditators, their attention still wanders. And so there are three questions that I always ask my students is, when we're meditating, what are we thinking? What thoughts are here? What emotions are floating up? And what physical sensations are here? And just noting them. We're not trying to make up a story about it, get tied up in it, but just noting, I had a thought. It's just a thought. I had an emotion. The emotion is, I don't know, boredom. It's just an emotion. And I had a physical sensation. Maybe my knee was getting stiff while I was meditating. It's just a physical sensation. We call it gentle curiosity, just approaching all this with gentle curiosity, like we're collecting data on ourselves and just noticing, but making space for it. And when what is here is uncomfortable or creates discomfort, or we don't like it, can we still be with it without needing to fix it or change it or make it any different? Can we just be with it? I'd like to, I did some of my studying under Jon Kabat-Zinn, who's sort of the grandfather of modern mindfulness, but I do have a scientific background with it also. But he talks about awareness, paying attention on purpose, aware of each moment as it unfolds, and doing it non-judgmentally. I also like Thich Nhat Hanh's definition of mindfulness, which is being aware of what is happening inside and around you in the present moment. But I also really, really like, I don't know if any of you are familiar with Ruth King, and she's the founder of the Mindfulness of Race Institute. And she's just a brilliant woman. And she talks about taking mindfulness beyond the mat and bringing it to social justice. As a social worker, we're very committed to social justice. And so can we use mindfulness also? Can we use that awareness for ourselves and to reach out with others to make the world a better place. And I like her definition. She says, mindfulness meditation is not a quick fix, nor is it about denying what we feel by replacing negative emotions with positive ones. So sorry, it's not about making ourselves feel terrific necessarily. It's about embracing the truth of the moment and discovering the liberating power and the beauty of pure awareness. It's simple and life-changing. Stillness is an act of self-compassion and self-respect. Maintaining a consistent mindfulness meditation practice is a practical way to be at peace in our own skin in this lifetime. So we can't, as much as we'd like to, we can't change the past, right? Jack Kornfield has a wonderful quote where he says, give up all hope of having a better past. The past is what it is. And we don't have control over the future. I mean, we could try to prepare for it, but we don't have any control over what's happening. All we have is this present moment. That's it. Right now. Oh, now we have this moment. And now we have this moment. And now we have this moment. So can we be present for all of it, no matter how it shows up, whether we like it or don't like it? Those are just thoughts, just reactions. And mindfulness, modern research, I said I'm sort of science-based. I did do my dissertation. I did a research project on brief mindfulness practices. But modern research has basically uncovered what we've for thousands of years we've really known through all sorts of different wisdom traditions, that by being present in the present moment, we actually feel a greater sense of well-being. There was a big research study that was done at Harvard with Matt Killingsworth called Track Your Happiness. And they looked at thousands of people and asked them throughout the day, what are you doing and are you present and how happy are you? And what they found was that the mind wanders over 45% of the time. So if your mind wanders, you're completely normal. And when people reported that they weren't thinking about the past and they weren't worrying about the future, but they were actually present or aware of what they were doing in the moment, they actually reported a greater sense of well-being. So in that sense, mindfulness could, I'm not saying it's going to make us happier, but it is a path to greater self-knowledge and greater sense of well-being. And as June mentioned, the critical thing I find as a researcher about mindfulness is that it teaches us that ability to pause, to hit that pause button. So there's a cue or something that happens in our environment, in our life. Somebody says something, maybe something hurtful, maybe something happens that we don't like, and we can react. And maybe we react in a way that we regret later, or we do something that maybe isn't so skillful, or we wish we hadn't done it. And so what mindfulness can do is help us with continued practice, helps us push that pause button. And so there's a cue, or sometimes we say trigger, and we can hit the pause button and say, okay, let me take a couple breaths here. Okay, how am I feeling about this? What thoughts, emotions, physical sensations are here? What are my choices in this situation? Maybe I do nothing. Maybe I sit and breathe. Maybe I leave. Maybe I tell this person off. Maybe I go for a walk. And what would be the consequences of each of those choices? Which one am I going to choose? I think I'll go with this. And that's reacting, responding mindfully, as opposed to reacting in the moment. And so this is the gift that mindfulness can give us. The second part of mindfulness that with continued practice comes is hopefully sometimes, some good days, is that ability to be in equanimity, to accept. And when we notice with gentle curiosity, what is here? Can we so often want to fix things or change things or not feel discomfort. And so can we just be with what's here without needing to change it? And when what is here is uncomfortable, and goodness knows, I mean, even just what yesterday, I mean, and today we've had, horrible things in the news that bring discomfort and fear. And so when that happens, awareness, check in with ourselves, creating space for this. Not acceptance doesn't mean we like it. It means that we can hold it. We can create some spaciousness and we can breathe. And in that spaciousness, the healing can occur. We can offer ourselves some self-compassion because the news has been difficult. And then we can offer others compassion because it's difficult for them. They've had suffering. So awareness, creating spaciousness for acceptance of what's here, even if what we find is not to our liking. I don't like it, it's just a thought. And reminding ourselves too that as we struggle either personally or we look at the more global struggles that are going on either here in Dallas or Texas or the US or the world, that we're not alone, that these feelings, that we're not off in the corner feeling these feelings that nobody else feels. We all struggle from time to time. We all feel despondent. We all feel fear. There aren't any emotions that we haven't all felt at some time. So recognizing that others struggle in this way, I'm not alone. And can we have self-compassion for ourselves? And then sometimes I talk about breathing in self-compassion for ourselves when life is difficult, and then exhaling compassion for others or all beings, because life can be difficult for them too. And I thought it might be interesting to read a quote. So I'm rereading a book that Pema Chodron wrote called When Things Fall Apart. And she has a chapter in there that she calls "This Very Moment is the Perfect Teacher." And she says, generally speaking, we regard discomfort in any form as bad news. But for practitioners or spiritual warriors, isn't that a great word? Spiritual warriors, people who have a certain hunger to know what is true, feelings like disappointment, embarrassment, irritation, resentment, anger, jealousy, and fear, instead of being bad news, are actually very clear moments that teach us where it is that we're holding back. So I think that's a really interesting concept, that when things wash in that make us uncomfortable, that create suffering for us, where is it that we're holding back? Can we lean into that moment and say, hang on a second, I'm uncomfortable, but what in this moment, what is there a lesson here? Is there something that can teach me something? Where am I holding back? They teach us to perk up and lean in when we feel we'd rather collapse and back away. They're like messengers that show us with terrifying clarity exactly where we're stuck. This very moment is the perfect teacher. And luckily for us, it's with us wherever we are. Most of us do not take these situations as teachings. We automatically hate them. We run like crazy. We're used to all kinds of escaping, and all addictions stem from this moment when we meet our edge and we can't stand it. There are so many ways that have been dreamed up to entertain us away from the moment. And so the next time that discomfort or suffering or rolls in for us, whether it's personally or it's something in our community, can we pause? Can we breathe? note what's going on in ourselves. So there's the awareness, right? And then lean in and say, okay, wait a minute, before I go off to the races with my thoughts, is there, where am I stuck here? Is there something here that I can learn from this? Is there something to teach me? I think it's a challenge. It's a daily challenge. I said at the beginning, I was really grateful for my practice this week. I had a challenging situation this last week, and I just thought, well, breathe, just count your breaths, and was able to reconnect with that balance point that sometimes I'm fortunate enough to find in meditation, and was able to float through the difficult event. And I asked myself, where am I stuck? What's the lesson here? And it was interesting. It kind of floated up. It was an interesting experience. So I invite you to try that next time discomfort washes in. Hit the pause button, take a few breaths, check in with yourself, thoughts, emotions, physical sensations, what's here. And then maybe lean in. Where am I stuck? Is there a lesson here? Is there something larger for me to learn? And can I allow this to be what it is without needing it to be anything other than just what it is? So I'd like to close this talk with a poem by Dorothy Hunt that I think says this all really eloquently. And it's entitled, "Peace is this moment without judgment." And she writes, "Do you think peace requires an end to war or tigers eating only vegetables? Does peace require an absence from your boss, your spouse, yourself? Do you think peace will come some other place than here, some other time than now, in some other heart than yours? Peace is this moment without judgment. That is all. This moment in the heart space where everything that is welcome, everything that is welcome. Peace is this moment without thinking that it should be some other way, that you should feel some other thing, that your life should unfold according to your plans. Peace is this moment without judgment. This moment in the heart space where everything that is welcome.